Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. Last week during the debate on clean air, in which I opposed overturning a rule that allows dirty air from other states to blow into Tennessee, costing us jobs, hurting our health, I said, why should we be picking on a good rule when the Environmental Protection Agency is a happy hunting ground of unreasonable regulations? And I want to take just a moment to talk about perhaps the foremost of those unreasonable regulations, which we call the boiler MACT rule. This is a regulation that will force thousands of industrial boilers around America to install the maximum available control technology on their boilers. This is important in order to clean the air of such pollutants as mercury. That is a good idea. Now, what is a bad idea, Madam President, is EPA only gives 3 years for companies to install this technologies, a time frame that's completely unrealistic. This isn't like a lot of the other clean air laws and rules that have been around for years. This is an unexpected new rule on thousands of industrial boilers, which are essential to our manufacturing jobs in America. So first, it's not enough time to comply with it. And then EPA used a flawed methodology in order to force companies to figure out what to do. And as a result, little businesses and big businesses all over America are going to be forced to spend hundreds of millions of dollars that they could be spending on creating jobs to try to implement a flawed rule that doesn't work. Now, that's just not one Republican senator saying that. We have 12 Democratic senators and a number of Republican senators who have introduced legislation. Senator Collins is the leader of this effort. I'm a part of it. So is Senator Wyden, so is Senator Pryor, so is Senator Landrieu. And what we're saying is, let's give the Environmental Protection Agency enough time to fix the rule. 15 months would be the time we've suggested. Let's give the EPA additional authority to be able to write a rule about the methodology of fuels that makes some sense and doesn't act like it's delivered from Mars or Venus or some other planet. And then let's give the industries enough time to comply with the rules. Instead of 3 years, which is what the rule suggests, 5 years. Let me try to give some sense of the impact of this unworkable rule. A loss of 340,000 jobs nationwide is the estimate. We just passed in a bipartisan way here 3 trade agreements, which the president said would create 250,000 jobs. It took us 3 years to do that. It was something Republicans and Democrats agreed on. We thought that was a big step forward, yet here we're allowing this agency to go forward with an absolutely unworkable rule that will cost 340,000 jobs. In my state of Tennessee, the cost to businesses are $530 million alone. I've talked to owners of small businesses who are facing $1 million cost to try to implement this unworkable rule on their boiler, and they have told me they'll just close their plant. They can't possibly afford it. I've talked to large industries who are affected. Eastman Chemicals is one. Been in Tennessee forever. It's as important part of our state as the Great Smoky Mountains are. Thousands of Tennesseans work there. This is what they say. Nearly $100 million over and above the work already planned to order. They're going to spend more than $100 million over and above the work they've already planned in order to bring 5 of Eastman boilers into compliance with the EPA regulation. This is a company with $7 billion in revenue. They're going to survive, but some jobs won't, and they won't be able to create jobs with that money. They'll just be complying with an unworkable government regulation. The majority leader said on the floor, regulations don't cost jobs. Here is prime example that unworkable regulations do cost jobs, and 12 Democratic senators and at least as many Republican senators agree on that, and we have a bipartisan way to fix it. And the House, in an overwhelming bipartisan vote, agreed with us by passing legislation in the same way. So, Madam President, I want to call the attention of this Collins, Alexander, Wyden, Pryor, Landrieu legislation to the public, to the Senate, and say there are some regulations that are before us that need to be changed. They're costing jobs. This isn't Republican rhetoric or Democratic excuses. It's Republicans and Democrats saying to the EPA, we want to give you the authority to write a good rule. We want you to fix the rule. We want a clean air standard. We don't want to change the result, but we want enough time for you to write the rule. We want you to be able to write the right method so companies can comply, and we want to give companies enough time
Senator,
to do the job.
you've consumed your 4.5 minutes.
I beg pardon?
Time you asked.
Thank you very much. So, Madam President, this is a rare piece of legislation, something we agree on across the aisle that could immediately save 340,000 jobs, that keeps the clean air rule that the EPA has proposed, but simply gives them time to write it properly, the authority to write it properly, and businesses the opportunity to comply with it within a reasonable period of time. I hope we will adopt it. I thank the President, and I yield the floor.